Hello.
Hi.
Where are you? It looks lovely.
Yeah, I'm enjoying a fire. It
Oh,
smells really nice.
cool. Hi, Stacy.
Hi from the airport.
Oh, I love it. Well, thanks for joining. Glad you landed.
I said it
Cool.
cleared the path. I landed early and got my luggage right away. It was so
Oh,
weird.
nice.
I
Cool.
know.
Where are you coming from?
Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Nice. I have both my East Coasters on the call right now. Oh, and Claudia, where are you? It looks like you're out of the city.
Definitely out of the city. I'm in Long Island, so not too far away.
Oh, cool.
One of my close friends took her family to California to Disney World, Disneyland, one of those, and I'm dog sitting and house
Oh,
sitting.
fun. Oh, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah. Wish I was in Vegas though. That's one of my favorite places.
It was a fun 2 days.
Were you there
Stace-
for a conference, Stacey?
Actually, my husband was. So
Oh, okay, cool.
he's like, why don't you join me for a couple of days while it's slow at your office? Because we can work remotely for 2 weeks in the summer. So I kind of
Oh,
like worked
nice.
from there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, that's fun.
I was just
Cool.
plus one.
Where on the East Coast are you, Stacey?
I live in Westfield, New Jersey,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
I
not
work
too
in
far.
Tribeca.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What about you?
I live in the West Village and work in Midtown.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I used to live in the West Village. I used to live on 12th and 6th, like forever ago.
I live not too far from there. I live like on 12th and Greenwich.
Oh, I love that whole area.
I do
Yeah.
too. I love the West Village so much.
The best.
Yeah. It's one of those things that worked out even better than I could imagine. So really grateful.
Yeah, I
And
love
excited for
that.
today.
Yeah, I'm excited you guys are here too. I thought I was actually going to be here on alone. Everyone was like, I can't make it. I can't make it. I was like, okay, well, um, cool. Well, we have a small group, so we can be flexible about this. The recording is gonna go out to some people, but we can definitely, if you guys have any questions or want to deepen on anything, I did get a question from one of the participants just about something that she wants some clarification on. Yeah. So, and then I have certain things that I could cover if there's no questions. So you all let me know.
I made some questions along the way, but I'd love to hear what you had in
Okay.
mind first. And I think that'll sort of jar me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it'll be good to get the stimulation from your opening remarks and then get questions, but a high level, like I have been through so many different rotations, and I just want to hear what's different about this 5D quantum leap one.
Yeah.
So anything you have developed, I know you're excited about, so please share.
Awesome. So I love that you said that because actually that's like what I'm going to be talking about in this beginning, just about that fifth dimension. Like really, what is this like fifth dimension and how do we live from that place? And cool. So again, the third, the fourth, and the fifth dimension are like these states of consciousness, which just means kind of like how we're living and perceiving the world. And what's interesting about these states of consciousness is that we're actually constantly like floating through all of them. Like there's sometimes like we're in the third dimension, like when we're being a victim to life, right? And being like, why is this happening to me? Like, right, we all fall into that. Um, and then we can easily shift out and we can like shift into the fourth and then we can even shift into the fifth. Like, I mean, it can happen really quickly, but the the key is that like we want to stay in the fifth because like when we're in this fifth dimension of pure love, like our life just flows better. We're understanding that we're not just human, right? That we're connected to everyone and everything, that we are everyone and everything, right? But beyond these stories of individuation, right? That we're so much more than this, and that we're all coming from the one consciousness, the one source, and that we're all just expressions of that one source. And when we think about that, like there's a lot of solace in that, right? That there's just this peace that happens when we understand that everything, again, there's like more order to everything than we realize, and everything truly is perfect, and that we are the universe becoming conscious of itself and seeing through these eyes. Now, that also, there is solace in that, there's peace in that, but it also can be very scary and destabilizing to the ego, which thinks that we are these bodies, that we are, our names, what we do for a living, our backgrounds, our past, our history, and all of that. Um, but I mean, I feel like my journey in kind of understanding these dimensions of consciousness and living more presently, like in the present moment, and trying to stay in that place has been really helpful, because the fourth dimension, and that's that dimension of transformation, can really keep you stuck, right? Because it can keep you stuck in this perpetual cycle of like, oh, I'm not there yet. And oh, there's something else in me to fix. There's something else I need to heal. There's something else that needs to change. And I love this. I kind of use this analogy to understanding how this fourth dimension, like in just looking for something to change about ourselves, we're always going to find it. So, like, scientists, when they were looking for the smallest particles of matter in this physical world, they found the atom, right? And they were like, okay, we found it. The atom in Latin, like atom, literally means uncuttable. So that's what they thought were the smallest particles in the universe, were these atoms. But then they kept the investigation going, and then they found protons, neutrons, electrons. Then they found something even smaller called quarks. And then they found like, and they keep finding these other layers. And so, what there's now understanding again is that it's just the investigation that's popping up, that's showing them more and more things. So that shows again about how that observer effect, the observer, our consciousness, is playing a role in creating something, right? Just because you're looking for it, it's there. Oh, you look smaller. Oh, something pops up. You're looking again. So that same thing happens with us. If we think that there's something else to heal or something, if like we're just believing that because it happened in the past, right? We're gonna keep finding that. And actually, what I find too is that you'll keep attracting to yourself. You'll find another coach that's healing this type of trauma, and you're like, oh, that's me. And you'll find like this book that says that, oh, the types of personalities or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, that's me. And so then you keep finding these things, and it can be like a perpetual cycle. And some people stay in that for their whole lives. And so actually we want to transcend that level into this fifth dimension, being like, actually, I'm perfect, whole, and complete just as I am. Now, this doesn't mean that things don't come up that maybe do need to be like transmuted, but they come up in the present moment, and we can resolve it in the present moment just by being present and just through our own presence and through love, not thinking like, oh, there's something wrong with this part of me that needs to change. It's just like, oh, another aspect of myself that's being revealed that I just get to love. Oh, that's so interesting that I, like cope in this particular way. And maybe I fly off the handle if somebody like pushes my buttons in a certain way. Like, oh, that maybe stems from something that happened to me in childhood. And let me love that little girl inside. Right. And so it just is from a very different place than judging ourselves that we're not right, that something's not there yet, that we're not right there. And so I think that that's really what my whole new container is going to be all about, is about how we live in that fifth dimensional place, right? And there's, of course, like I am going to be teaching things. And I think it's, again, it's about like, okay, like what resonates, and does that, like, how can I come into new levels of my own power and to new levels of my own love? And that's really like what we'll be doing in it. The other thing that I really love about the fifth dimension is one of my spiritual teachers says, true creation has no agenda. So oftentimes in the fourth dimension, we have an agenda, right? Like, I need more money. I need more clients. I need a bigger house. I need a nicer car, whatever it is. There's like, we're manifesting from this place of having some sort of agenda. And usually that agenda is coming from, I call it like the personal self, right? You can call it the ego, the personal self. It's like this, it's um coming from lack and limitation. Oh, I don't have this yet. Oh, I'll be happy when I have that. But truly, when we come into this like true creation has no agenda, like think about nature, right? There's really never, and nature doesn't have an agenda, but everything blossoms perfectly and in perfect order. Like the seasons come and go, the trees, the forest, like everything is in perfection of it. And this is how we want to be. We want to be in that place too. And when we can get to that place where we release our personal agenda, now this doesn't mean that like we don't have a goal or I mean we can still have that and we will do this in 5D University is like okay, maybe we have this vision for our life, but it's not the vision is purely just to get us into an excitable state and just because it feels good to like imagine something but we have no attachment to it. And when we live in that place without the attachment to what happens, we actually create a lot more space for the universe to deliver something even better than we could possibly imagine. Right? Because the mind is so limited. We only know what we know. We just know our little world. And yeah, maybe we can imagine a little bit of a stretch, but our higher selves and God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, they know something that's going to be even more exciting for our lives, more satiating for us. And so we just want to stay in this place of just excitement and curiosity and wonder like, "Oh, okay, I'm open to it all." And about learning to become happy as happy in just this present moment, just as everything is. And so something that I say to myself often is I use this affirmation where I go from my head down to my heart. I take 3 conscious breaths and I say to myself, absolutely nothing can make me any happier than I am right now. And I'll say that like 3 times. And sometimes I'll replace happier with things like absolutely nothing can make me any wealthier than I am right now. And I really feel into like what that feels like, right? And to me, that affirmation kind of does 2 things. First of all, I believe that nothing actually could make us any happier than we are in this present moment. We think something is going to make us happier, but oftentimes we get to that thing and we don't feel any different, right? And so that's just like a mind-made illusion that we think that thing is going to make us happy. And so but what we want to do is like learn to make ourselves happy, right? Align with happiness, align with our inner joy, which takes some, I don't want to use the word work, but kind of, it takes practice to understand how to cultivate those feelings inside of us. It's really interesting because has anyone watched the Netflix special with Aaron Rodgers? Okay, so do you guys know who Aaron Rodgers is? He's the quarterback for the Packers.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, yeah. So he talks in that about how like his lifelong dream was to be in the NFL and then to win the Super Bowl. And then he got there quickly when he was young. And then he was like, this is it, what's next? Like it didn't feel the way he thought it was going to feel. And the same thing now just happened with a golfer, like the number one golfer in the world. His name is Scotty Scheffler. He's won the Masters, he's won multiple um, tournaments, majors, and he's been getting all this slack recently because he said something like, "Oh, like like what does it matter?" Or like he was kind of just saying that same type of thing, like, "Okay, now I got here, and now I'm just like a normal guy. Like, uh, everyone thinks I'm supposed to like be something different now that I won these things." And I think these are perfect examples of sometimes we're chasing after this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? And then it's not what we think it is. And it's all an illusion that in our mind, it's like a trick that the mind plays on us that makes us believe that these outside things are actually going to add to us in some way. And they absolutely don't, right? And so, how can we come from this place of just like fullness and excitement and love and loving every single thing that happens to us and loving every single aspect of us? I think that that's the most powerful and beautiful thing that we can do as humans, right? And honestly, that is the most magnetic energy, right? When you can say, absolutely nothing can make me any happier than I am right now, that is the most magnetic energy you can be in. And that actually is exactly when all the goodness floods in. You become a magnet for everything good and amazing, right? Because you're just that energetic match to it. Um, so, all right, I will pause there for a moment and just see if you ladies have any questions or any thoughts, comments.
I had just a more of a reflection because from what you were saying, which was we're always seeking for happiness. And it's like, what if we start questioning what we thought made us happy and we're like seeking for, how do you kind of work through that? Because we
Yeah.
know it may doesn't bring as much joy as it used to.
Mm. I love that. Okay, so there's a couple things there that we can kind of dissect. So the first thing is like, yeah, kind of, I think we often assume this is something actually the human mind does, is that like we think things are more permanent than they are, right? And we change so much from day to day. Like I'm a different person, like every day, basically, right? I mean, especially as women, right? I mean, we go through cycles every month. We're different people every day. As you're like into this type of work, you're constantly like changing and you're in flux. And so I think sometimes we think that something that once made us happy is still going to make us happy. And it doesn't all the time, and that's okay. And I think we have to learn to have grace with ourselves in those moments and be honest with ourselves. Like, okay, this actually is no longer filling me up. And maybe it's time to move on from this, and that's okay. Like, it's all always a death and rebirth cycle, right? The dying of something and something else. And oftentimes something else can't come in until we let go of those other things. And so I think that that's important too, because and again, I think it's the ego that wants to hold on or whatever you want to call it, whatever resonates with you, like the personal self, because w- that's like a part, it thinks it's grasping as those things as part of your identity. And it thinks, oh, if you let that go, it's like a death to it in a way. And it's just trying to keep itself alive. It's like its own, your ego is kind of like its own thing. It doesn't want death. And so, yeah, so I think just like a personal inventory too of checking in of like, okay, like, does this still make me happy, right? I love to make lists, and I do this often of just what do I love? I will like write in my journal, what do I love at the top of the page? And I just start writing down everything that I love, right? And I just write, and that alone just like puts me in a great frequency and it helps me get my priorities straight again because I'm like, okay, if something is not, bringing me a joy, like why am I holding on to it? So that's one thing. The other way we can look at this is from this, I call it like a non-dual perspective. So non-duality is when you learn that you are just pure consciousness. And Claudia, you're familiar with like the module in my program about where we go into, I call it like the truth of who we are, which is just pure consciousness. And you can watch how the mind is seeks. The seeking is a mechanism of the mind. And the mind is always seeking for something, seeking for happiness, seeking for more spirituality, seeking for information, whatever it is. And in those moments, you can maybe just breathe and just notice, oh, there's that seeking again. And you don't necessarily have to get like pulled down into it. Does that make sense?
It definitely does.
Cool. I hope that helps.
So that was great and a lot of color, which I appreciate. So three things that I wanted to voice. One, like this new idea that you're bringing up of like there's nothing to fix. Even in the meditation yesterday, you said that, and like I had tears in my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, like I've been stuck in this. I have to fix myself. I have to fix myself. So
Yeah.
it's really nice that this idea is being brought up because I feel drawn to explore it more. The second thing that came into my mind when you were explaining the fifth dimension versus the fourth dimension was that, as humans, we often want to make sense of things, and making sense of things requires logic. And
Mhm.
I do feel like this is not something that's logical. This is not going to be like if then that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're perfect, but there's things to work on. It's not always one or the other. It's going to be like a very fluid thing. And even now I'm trying to put logic to it and I can't. So I'm kind of tossing logic out the window
Yeah.
with this because it's a spiritual thing and it's possible.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last thing kind of I forgot already, but pretty excited. What was the last thing you were talking about was before Stacy's question? Um,
The magnetic
oh,
energy.
yeah, the magnetic energy and the visualization. So like as much as I love the visualizations, we're familiar with that cycle of like you see the results, you think about them, you internalize them, and then you have the same action over and over again. Someone might say like, well, why don't you just look at different things and feel differently about them? But I think the power in the work that we're doing here is that we're not allowing our mind to have to look at something to make that change. I think we're strengthening the muscle of like, regardless of what I'm seeing, I can tune into my own power. I can stay strong in the feeling of being happy, being wealthy, being whatever I need to be to keep going. I don't know if that's the right way to interpret that, but I'm like, I don't, whatever's in front of me doesn't matter. Like circumstances don't matter. It's what I feel inside.
Totally. Yes. I love all that. Amazing reflections. Thanks, Claudia. Hi, Megan. Glad you could join us.
Hi, sorry I'm late and
Yeah, no worries.
I got a little bit early too, but yeah, I was
No
excited to see you
apologies
all again.
necessary. Um, really cool, side note, I have this business mentor I've been working with this year, and she's always like, she says, sexy, not sorry. And so, like, when somebody apologizes, she'll be like, you're so sexy. And I love it. It's like such a good reframe because why are we always apologizing as women? I feel like men really don't do that. Some men do, but really women more. So anyway, you're so sexy, Megan. Claudia, just back to you really quickly. I love those observations so much. I mean, I just feel like, yeah, it becomes a whole new world. And the fact that you became emotional and like teary-eyed when you're like, oh, there's nothing to fix. It is. It's like that's truth, right? That's like your soul being like, oh, right, there isn't like I'm already whole, like right, and that's truth, right? And so I feel like a lot of times when I have tears, like when I do this type of work, it means because it's like hitting so deeply at like some level where I'm like, oh, okay, and so there is a part of you that knows that already. And yeah, trying to put this to logic, and that's like the funny thing about this work, and the funny thing about any type of coach or anything. It's like we're all trying to like, put these like things together and systems to go through. And I try to do that too. But really it's all about feeling and it's about like, okay, does this feel right to me, right? Instead of trying to make logical sense, like, can I just open up to like the feeling and just trust in that feeling? Instead of trying to figure everything out. And again, it's just another mechanism that the mind wants to know. That's just what the mind wants to know. That's just what it does. And so it's just kind of again when we start going into like those rabbit holes of like logic and thinking and trying to figure things out and just being like, oh, there it goes again. Like they're there. Like just, again, just looking at it as like another aspect of us that we get to love because it is just like a mechanism that's going on, a coping thing that the mind is trying to do to like make sense of everything. So, um, yeah, cool. And Claudia, I really love that you were just talking about that too. I feel like maybe you're like tuned into me or something and knew what I was going to be doing today, because that even leads into this next chart that I'm going to show. I really like,
Maybe.
yeah.
And wait, one more thing that you made me think of, because like
Yeah.
there's such a um like there's this big idea of like the birth and the death of an ego. And I think when you're thinking about the fifth dimension, and I really like this comes from my therapy, but it's an evolution of your soul. So like you could be perfect, but those parts that need adjustments, they're just evolving, but they're perfect as they are.
Totally,
But they're just
totally.
going to evolve.
Exactly, exactly, right? Like I think about like an oak tree, right? An oak tree is always going to be evolving. Do you think like an oak tree says like, I'm not a great oak tree today. Can I do something to fix myself, right? No, but it's naturally always going to evolve, right? It's just part of the cycle. And the same thing with us. So can we let that go and let life just expand us, right? Because it's going to naturally happen. Um, and yeah, it is all an evolution. So that's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, cool. I really like this chart. And actually, as I was like preparing for this, I had made this chart a while ago based on another teacher that I'd seen one time had something similar to this. But I actually would change now, like I would change this level. Can you guys see my like my pointer? So I would change this level and actually like switch it out with this man created identity, because actually this is what creates our man created our identity, our self-talk, our beliefs, our rules, our trauma and our triggers, right? And then that creates this, you can call it like man created identity or mind created identity, because our identity really is mostly just mind created. If you think about who you are, they're all concepts, right? I am a woman, I am Adrian, I am American, I am this, I am that, right? It's all, they're like concepts and they're labels. And so they're all kind of coming from here. And oh, the thing about it, like it says limiting belief, you can just say beliefs, but actually all beliefs are limiting. All beliefs are limiting. Even if you have a belief that feels really expansive today, at some point it's actually going to be limiting. So anyway, um, but what's interesting is I feel like if you look at this, this is, you can kind of see, so from here, this is all like the mind stuff. And actually one of those other Hermetic principles that we're going to be diving deep into in 5D University, which is all is mental. Everything in the universe is mind, which is really interesting. So this is all mind, all these things right here. And again, this is kind of like what creates this man-made identity. Um, so our self-talk, limiting beliefs, rules, basically rules are things that we associated and we believed were to be true. Like, for example, like, oh, I have to be perfect in order to be loved, or I have to work really hard in order to make money, right? That's like a rule that we then live by. So there's just like these rules that we create. And then from there, that's actually what causes a lot of our emotions, is the trauma, the self-talk. Then from that we have emotions. And then from our emotions, that's where we make decisions and take action. So you can say action or decisions in those places. And then all of that leads to our life right now, right? This whole like formula. Now, what's really cool about this, and everything is energy in between here, right? Because every single thought we think is energy, our soul is energy, um, every rule is energy, every emotion is energy, and every action is energy. Everything in this universe is energy. We live in an energetic universe, right? And so, um, when we start to work on this level of actions and decisions, we change the whole tree, right? We change this whole tree upward. So I talk a lot about taking action, right? Taking action as if you are that person now, taking action as if you have this belief in something now, because this is how powerful the action is. It's going to just stem all the way up to all these other levels. right? And so that's a way we can hack it, right? Affirmations, we can say affirmations and work here, but sometimes it takes a longer for those things to actually set in. But if we, you know, what would be more powerful, like walking around saying like I am confident, or literally walking around like you're confident with that feeling inside, right? Then that's going to send everything up to the whole level of the thoughts, the emotions, to actually like be in that place. And so this is kind of like a hack, right? That we can take action as that person, and it basically changes our whole identity. And this is why I was even saying like yesterday that actually investing in yourself is like a whole identity shift, right? Because you're like, oh, like I'm I'm taking action, you're kind of like going up the whole ladder, right? Instead of like, oh, I have to be cautious with money, or I shouldn't spend that on me, or whatever it is, right? It's kind of like you change at that level, and then everything else is kind of changing from that. So that's like the really cool thing. And recently I was talking to my partner. I'm going to take this off. I was talking to my partner, and um we were talking about this stuff, the law of attraction. I go on and on about this stuff a lot of times. So it's nice to have a partner who is interested in this and listens to me and has like input and insights on the same things. But we were talking about like the power of belief, and even transcending belief going into like knowing. And he was saying, he was kind of like questioning me. He's like, so do you think like, what if there's a guy who's a mailman and he really wants a personal chef or something? I don't even know where he got this example from. He was just like making it up. And he's like, do you really think like he can afford something like that? That money's just gonna fly out of the air? And I was like, no, but here's the thing. Okay, so if there's a mailman who wants to have a personal chef. I go, how do you know that he's just gonna really like think about this and feel into the energy of that and completely trust that that's going to happen? And I go, and then maybe say that all of a sudden they get this inspiration to host because he's like, oh, a mailman that has 8 kids. I don't even know where he was getting this from. Um, he's like, and so I said maybe they get an inspiration to host an exchange student from Africa. And they take this exchange student in, and actually, the exchange student is passionate about cooking and wants to go to culinary school, and then decides to start cooking for the entire family. And I go, and there you go, right? It gets delivered. And he was like, oh, that's really interesting. And so the reason why I even like bring this up is because there's so many potentials and possibilities, right? And there's so many different ways what we want could come into our lives if we just open up to however it looks, right? Sometimes we get super fixated on how something's supposed to look. And I've even noticed in my life, like when I want to manifest something, it never like ends up being exactly the way I thought, right? It always is like a little different. And then I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, and so I think that just having like really coming into this like, okay, yeah, this is my desire. Like, I would love for this to happen, and I'm open to any potentials and possibilities, and like just really follow that inspired action, right? If you have like an inspiration to do something or to go somewhere, really just to act on that inspiration. And I think that there's and I was thinking about this earlier today too, that there's a really big difference between trust and belief and absolute knowing, right? And so if we think about this, and this might be a little out there, but I'm just going to go with it. I have three spiritual ladies on here, so we'll just talk about this. So I believe that our consciousness is creating our world like in every moment, from moment to moment. And the reason why, like when I open that door and go outside, it's like the outside world is going to be there. I'm going to step onto a sidewalk. I know where my car is, right? And it's all there because I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's there, right? And so it's there. Um, Now, what if we started like instilling that knowing into us about our lives and about like what we want for ourselves? Like, what if we instilled like beyond, oh, trusting that money is going to come to like, no, I know that money is going to come, right? And then proceeding in that way. Now, I don't mean to like that mean to go out and like spend all your money, but like, how can I like move just beyond that trust and belief into like total knowing? And there's so much power in that, right? When we kind of can even transcend that trust and that belief into like 100% knowing with every cell in my body that this is going to work out, that this is my destiny, that whatever it is. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions?
I don't think so.
The,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
absolute knowing, that's the stuff that comes through the work, through the practice, through the repetition, right? Because
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
mhm,
I think so.
absolutely.
And it's not easy, right? Because it's almost like we want to be proven to, right? And I get it. And right, we want to like make sure things work, right? And so, but I do really believe that um like as we move more and more into like as we study the universal laws, as we study this type of material, that we can it takes us deeper and deeper into knowing rather than just belief on some level, right? Yeah. Because again, like I just think about, there's such a difference between like believing that I know that I'm going to have dinner tonight, right? I mean, it's just like like a random concept. I know that I'm going to have dinner tonight, right? And so there's no like belief in that at all. Belief always leaves some room for doubt. And so it's really about like transcending the doubt, right? And just noticing when the doubt comes up. And that's just like another part of us, like, oh, the doubter, right? And okay, let's just love that part of us to help us move into more levels of knowing. I heard something recently too about um, somebody talking about this guy. He's a spiritual teacher, I'll call him, and he's Asian. And he said, there's a really big difference. He's like, I would never say, like, I want to be Asian. Like, he's like, I am Asian. That's it, right? And it's like kind of the same thing when it comes to like wealth or confidence or whatever it is that we want, right? How can we just like get into that place of like, I 100% am that, right? There's no like room for not being that in there. Just like, oh, I am a woman, right? There's no doubt in that, right? And yeah, so it's just another way to kind of like move into knowing. Cool. Everyone good so far? All right. Let's see. I do want to talk a little bit about um, energy, frequency, and vibration. Right. So I mentioned earlier that like everything in this universe is energy, right? Everything is energy. Like if you were to look at your hand underneath a microscope or anything solid, all you would see were like particles moving around really quickly. So everything is energy and everything's moving at a certain rate of vibration. And so it's not even like energy is something that we have. It actually is something that we're constantly broadcasting. It's something that we are, and it's something that we're always sending out into the world. So you can even think of yourself as a radio tower, and we're only attracting the station that we're tuned into. So anytime like we're always just attuned to a certain level of reality, and we're seeing everything that's on that certain level of reality. I did a YouTube video recently that talked about like even social media, right? When you're on social media, like I talked about this a little bit yesterday, how do the videos that you're watching make you feel? Because actually, that's going to give you an indicator of where your frequency is, where you're like what you're attracting into your life. If you're like constantly seeing videos that make you feel like you need to fix yourself, right? Then actually that's a good indicator that that's the frequency that you're on. And you can be like, you know what? I actually don't want to be on this frequency anymore. I want to choose something different. And so, um, just like social media has an algorithm, there's like an algorithm of life too. And we actually can control it more than we realize, right? Just by changing our frequency. Um, and so, there's all different levels of frequencies, right? And have you guys all seen like the scale of consciousness from David Hawkins? It just talks about like the levels of consciousness. I should have actually had that for this, but it basically just shows all the different levels of frequencies and where every emotion and every state of consciousness is vibrating. Um, we don't want to go into, oh, this one's lower, so it's bad or worse, right? Because then again, that gets us entrained in judgment, and the judgment is what keeps us in the fourth dimension. Um, but it's just like, oh, this is interesting. This is maybe where I am. Maybe I'm vibrating on worry. Maybe I'm vibrating on doubt. Um, and okay, let me choose a different frequency. And the way we do that is by taking 3 conscious breaths, moving from our head into our body, and asking yourself, what would it be like to be XYZ? So, what would it be like to be enlightened? You could even say, right? Or what would it be like to be in love? And that's actually a great way we can start to bypass our conscious mind. Because consciously, if you use an affirmation and just say, like, I am happy, and you're not really feeling happy, your mind is going to give you a million reasons why you're not, right? And so, but if you say, what would it feel like to be so happy right now? You actually then can feel into it. And that's actually what's making the difference because you're the feeling, right? It doesn't actually matter um, if your mind agrees with it. If you can just get into that feeling, what would it feel like to be really happy right now? And then you're vibrating in that frequency of happy and it can ripple out. And so I think this is why too that like the energy check-ins are so powerful, is because w- we're constantly going back to our default, whatever that is. And so the more we can start like training ourselves to be in a different frequency consciously, then the more like everything starts to shift around us. Let's just talk quickly too about judgment, because like I was saying, so judgment is the way that keeps us entrained into the fourth dimension. When we judge ourselves, when we judge other people, and when we judge our circumstances and situations. And so when we judge something as good, bad, right, wrong, positive, negative, it kind of traps us right into it, right? And if we think about fixing ourselves, wanting to fix or change ourselves, it's because we're actually judging ourselves, right? Um, and so how do we learn to go to acceptance instead of judgment? For me, when I judge, I've realized that I have a little 5-year-old girl inside of me who doesn't feel good enough. And so, in order to make herself feel better, she judges other people. So, when I go into judgment, I'm just like, oh, she needs some love. Let me actually like go tell her how amazing she is. And then the judgment can kind of go away. It doesn't mean I never judge, right? That still happens all the time. I've also kind of made this vow to stop using the words good, bad, positive, negative, right, wrong, because that again keeps us into that judging of things, and we never know what is good or bad. we don't have a full picture and we don't need to be the judge. I recently watched the movie The Shack. Have you guys ever seen that or read the book?
I started to read it. It was hard.
Oh, okay. So I watched the movie and it was so good. I highly
Okay.
recommend it. My partner and I were both like bawling, crying. It was really good. Um, and in it, it talks about like when we are taking the role of God when we judge something as good or bad, and that's never was intended to be our role, right? And it's true, like there's always a bigger picture to things that our little human mind just can't comprehend. And so we really have no idea what's good or bad. There's this parable that some of you may have heard, and it's about this man who was a farmer or something. And one day, this like a stallion comes running into his farm, and he had this like new stallion, and all of his neighbors were like, "Oh, you're so lucky. That's so good." And he said, "Maybe so." And then the next day he was like riding this stallion and it bucked him off and he like broke his entire body. And then all of his neighbors came over and said, "Oh, that's so unfortunate. Like, this is so bad that this happened." And he said, "Maybe, maybe not." And then the day after that, the army came through and were rounding up all of the people to go to war against someone, and they didn't take him because he was in like a full body cast. And they were like, "Oh, you're so lucky that you didn't have to go." And he's like, "Maybe, maybe not." Right. And it just shows that we really don't know if something is good or bad. I'm sure you all have had an experience in your life where at the time it seemed terrible. And then later on, you're like, "Oh my God, thank God. That was like the best thing that could have happened." Right. Yeah. I've had lots of those moments. And so I always think about that because in the moment when we want to say, like, "This is terrible, this is horrible," we want to understand that there is a higher order, that there is a bigger picture to things. And we just don't know if something is good or bad. Um, and again, we just get so entrenched into when we're judging something, it just entangles us, and it doesn't feel good. It never feels good when we're judging something. And if we're judging our situation, so like if we're judging something like, "Oh, mm, I always just use money because it's just an easy example. Like, "Oh, I don't want to be poor," or "I don't want to not have enough," or whatever it is. When we judge it, we actually are entraining right into that frequency and almost like unintentionally like attracting it because of that. But if we start looking at things like, "Oh, that's a valid option," right? That's a valid frequency for the people of planet Earth and certain people on planet Earth to be exploring. Maybe there's some souls that want to explore that frequency. I am choosing not to explore that frequency. It's valid, but I'm going to choose to go here into wealth and abundance, right? And the more we can embrace both sides, actually, that is then when we can attract what it is that we truly want. When we're trying to attract it from this place of like pushing the other thing away, again, it entrains us right into that frequency, and then it accidentally kind of like pulls us right into that, and then we start experiencing maybe not that extreme of it, but maybe just like a tightness around money or struggle with money or whatever it is. Um, cool. How's everyone doing? I know this is a lot. Okay, good. Um, I do want to do a little meditation. Are you guys good to do that? Okay. Let me just. Okay. All right. When you're ready, just close down your eyes. Get comfortable. And take a few deep breaths in through the nose and long, slow exhales out through your mouth. Do you see your dog is so cute?
So much for the meditation. I just got home and it's attacking me. Sorry, guys.
So cute.
Thank you. She'll probably come back.
I love it. Okay. Another deep breath in through your nose. And a long, slow exhale out through the mouth. And one more big, deep inhale in through the nose as much as you possibly can, completely filling up your lungs, and then hold it at the top. And then a long, slow exhale out through the mouth as long as you possibly can, emptying your lungs completely. And now just do a gentle body scan. See if you're holding on to any tension. And tell your body to completely relax. And now see yourself in your mind's eye. And take note of your energy field. What does it look like? Notice without judgment. Is it close to the body or expanded? Is it colorful? Does it have any dark spots? Is it smooth or is it jagged? And then imagine a big, beautiful golden white light that comes from the center of the universe, through the sun, through Earth's atmosphere, down into the crown of your head, filling your whole body like warm liquid honey, restoring every cell in your body back to harmony, back to balance, as it fills up your whole head, including your ears, your neck, shoulders, down your arms to the tips of your fingers, continuing with your chest, torso, your hips, pelvis, thighs, calves, down your feet, where it exits out the bottom of your feet and goes down, down into the core of Mother Earth. Or it mixes with her energy, returning anything that no longer serves you or doesn't belong to you. Transmuting it. And it travels back up through all the layers of the earth, through the earth's crust, into the bottom of your feet, your ankles, calves, thighs, pelvis, hips, torso, chest, filling your arms, your neck, shoulders, head, where it exits out the top of your head, going back to the sun, back to the center of the universe. This energy is in a constant loop from the center of the universe, through the sun, through you, into the core of Mother Earth, back up through you, back to the center of the universe, in a constant flow of energy, and you are the conduit. Now just see yourself again in your mind's eye. Notice where your energy field is now. Notice without judgment. Now let's just get familiar with what certain frequencies feel like in our body. I want you to come into your heart space and ask yourself, what would it feel like to be joyful right now? Joy, joy, joy. What would it feel like to be joyful right now? And with every breath you take, breathe in more joy and align every cell in your body with the feeling of joy. Maybe you need to imagine a beautiful place or a baby animal, a beautiful sunset or sunrise. What would it feel like to feel joy right now? And take note, what does your body feel like? Notice if your mind comes in with any commentary like, what's happening? I can't feel anything. Just notice that, send it on its way, and just get back into the body and feel joy. Now let's look at confidence. What would it feel like to feel confident? Confident in yourself, in your abilities, confident in life, confident that the universe always has your back, confident that you will get everything that you desire and so much more. What does confidence feel like? Notice what it feels like in your body. Align every cell in your body to confidence. And now let's look at something like anger. Let's not judge anger. Let's just notice, what is anger in our bodies? What does anger feel like? Actually, right relationship with anger can be a very beautiful and powerful emotion, like a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi, moving you into action. What does anger feel like in your body? We're just exploring frequencies. There's nothing good, there's nothing bad. We're just looking at it. The next one we're going to move to is shame. And can we feel shame and can we welcome it here? Just noticing what shame feels like in our bodies. Notice if this is a familiar feeling at all. Remember, we're not judging it. There's nothing good or bad about shame or about any of these frequencies. They're just different energies, different frequencies that people could be on. And it's a valid option. Now let's feel into peace. What does peace feel like? Even the word peace carries a certain frequency. So you can just keep repeating peace, peace, peace to yourself. Maybe a tranquil or peaceful scene is in front of you. What does peace feel like in your body? Just another frequency to explore. And now let's find abundance. What does abundance feel like? To be completely supported by life in every way, through money, through resources, just overflow. Feel into what does overflow and abundance feel like in your body. Can you align every single cell in your body with the frequency of abundance and overflow? And when you're ready, start taking some deeper breaths. Start wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, and coming back into this moment. How do you ladies feel?
Relaxed. Must fall asleep.
Nice. How did all those feel in your body? Were you able to kind of like attune to the differences in some of them?
I'm stronger than others.
Yeah.
I felt it sort of throughout my body.
Mm.
I felt like the negative feelings were lower in my body,
Oh, interesting.
which I
Cool.
was trying to figure out, like, where am I feeling it, even though it was subtle.
Yeah.
But like shame and anger were sort of in my legs and my feet.
Oh, interesting. Huh. That's
And
cool.
then an abundance sort of like it started tingling right here. And I was
Cool.
like, well, I don't know what that is. 'Cause I'm like, I don't feel abundant right now, so I don't know what to feel. So I'm just like, it was like a
single.
Cool. I love it. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Claudia, how are yours?
Good. I um would say that like when anger came up, my liver like immediately ached. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, there you are. There you are. Shame made me feel like heavy, like really heavy with my shoulders, my head. Um, and then with joy and peace, I just felt so light, like weight-wise, just very, very light and very open. And I think, oh, in the beginning you were asking us to look at the energy. Mine was like it was like this beautiful orange, but then it had like these gray scratches all over. And I was like, huh,
Interesting.
okay. And then
Yeah.
I had that friendly reminder, like, don't judge. I'm like, okay, okay, because I was
Yeah.
about to. So that
Yeah.
was interesting.
Cool.
Um, and then from yesterday, remember how I said that when we connected with the higher self, like my body moved counter
Yeah.
or like clockwise? I was feeling that again.
Oh,
And
really? Cool.
with my eyes closed, I could have sworn I did like at least 5 circles.
Oh, wow.
And
Cool.
it was insane. But I'm
That's
used to
cool.
it
Yeah.
now,
I love
more
that.
familiar.
Just energy, right? And the more we attune to this energy level, again, I call it like the quantum level, because it's like the smallest layer of reality. So many people we're just used to loud, we're used to so much, right? And so it takes a lot for us to even feel these things. So it's awesome that you ladies are even feeling anything. I feel like that's like huge steps, but like that's yeah, that like when we're doing the world of energy and all of this stuff, like we want to start fine tuning our instrument, right? And that's what we're doing, just like really learning how to play in frequency. Because again, so many people are walking around in shame, in guilt, in anger, in fear, right? In these heavier vibrations, and they have no idea. They're just so oblivious to it, right? It just feels normal to them. It's just their baseline. And so the more we can kind of like explore these things and learn to attune ourselves to it, and just we become that radio dial, and then that means the more that we can master it, to always like choose the frequency that we want to be on. So I just think that there's so much power in this. This is how we become masters of our reality. And again, it's not looking to control anything. It's just looking to, okay, this is like a fun game, right? We can really kind of play with that. One quick thing too about judgment. I love using anytime like my mind wants to go to judge, I just use the phrase, "Oh, isn't this interesting?" And it kind of like immediately will shift me back into that neutrality, like, this is interesting." Um, and it helps just kind of like lighten things. Yeah. And so you can always use that as like a good way to kind of bring you out of that judgment.
Is judgment a feeling, or does it have feelings connected to it?
I think it definitely does. Like when I start judging, I do like it doesn't feel good, right? Like especially, if you're like judging another person or if you're judging yourself, right? It doesn't feel good. Um, and it's just another thing that the mind does. Actually, every single organism on the planet, including even like the tiniest like amoebas, sort through life by basically saying in their minds, like if those things had minds, whatever, me, not me. Me, not me. Even trees do this too. Trees know, like as they're communicating with each other, which trees are like them and which trees are not like them, right? And we're doing the same thing very unconsciously. Oh, me, not me. That thing is like me, that thing is not like me. And so the reason why I just bring this up is just because from like our instincts, every instinct in us wants to judge. And so it's just a natural thing for the mind to do to like sort through reality. But we don't have to get entangled into it, right? Um, and I just saw this quote yesterday and I loved it. And it was specifically related to women, but I think it can be about anything. It said, your first thought about another woman is a conditioned response. Your second thought is tells who you are. And I was like, I love that. I just got the chills actually saying that because it's so true, right? Sometimes we just make these snap judgments all the time. But then, okay, what's the second thought after that? Like, oh, interesting, right? And just knowing that that first thought always is a conditioned reaction. And then the second thought after that is something that we can train ourselves to think something differently, right? Something more kind, something more compassionate. Even if it's just, oh, isn't that interesting? And not beating ourselves up for judging because that just entangles us right into that whole mess again, because then we're judging ourselves, right? And so it's just about learning to recognize that.
So in other words, don't judge yourself for judging.
Yes.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
Yes, which is something that has taken me a long time to understand. It's like once I started embarking on the spiritual path, I felt like all of a sudden then I had to be like this person who was nice to everybody. And if I judge somebody, I'm like, oh my God, that's so bad. I can't do that. Well, right. And I was then like very much judging myself. And what it also started making me do was that I would I actually would start to, because sometimes it's not necessarily a judgment, sometimes it's just discernment, right? And I think that that's like a big differentiator, that you're not going to resonate with everybody. And just because there's not a resonance there, I mean, you don't have to make yourself wrong for it. You don't have to make the other person wrong. It's just, oh, okay, it's just, there's just some discernment that maybe I don't really want to spend my energy with them. But what I would do was I would be like, oh, I should give them a chance. Like, they're probably nice. And what does that do actually in that? It's like I'm dishonoring myself, right? And so I think that we want to be careful, like when we're on this path, that actually, like, the most loving thing that we can do is just always like honor where we're at, and have boundaries and yeah, not always like try to be the saint and the that's nice to everyone and saying yes to everything, because that's kind of silly too, and there's not really anything spiritual about that. Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you ladies today. I was just gonna show um, or I'll just put it actually in here. Claudia, I know you already filled it out, but I was gonna just have the application if you're interested. I am going to be doing a drawing for VIP for the scholarship, so I will keep you all updated on that. Um, and yeah, I have 2 of the spots filled for those first 5 to join to get the 3 private 60-minute one-on-one sessions with me. Um, we start on September, I think 12th is our kickoff party, but then the official start for 5D University is September 15th, I believe it is. September 16th, which is a Tuesday. So, and if you have any questions about this, happy to answer them. Yeah, offline or whatever. So that's what I have for today.
Thank you. Are you emailing that? I just didn't catch the QR code. I do want to look into it. I'm just like on my phone right now.
Yep,
So are you going
yep.
to send that to everybody? And then tell us about this drawing.
Yeah. I'm just came out from the VIPs for like a half scholarship to 5D University. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you'll let us know.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so lovely to be with you ladies. I hope that this was helpful. Yeah.
It was great. Thank you so much. I was definitely not feeling great on the airplane. So I was like, this was great to like
Oh,
switch,
good.
switch me up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Center me a little bit. Yeah.
I love it. Cool.
Amazing. Thank you. And very nice to meet you ladies as well. So thanks again.
Nice to meet you. Thanks, Adrian. This is great. So lovely.
So
Awesome.
lovely. Bye bye.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.